Welcome back to episode 167 of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What up, dude?
And on the sticks, we got Javier.
Hello.
You're mimicking TJ, aren't you?
Yeah.
That was pretty spot on, dude.
That was close.
Yeah.
That was pretty close, dude. Very well done.
So TJ got a little COVID, so we got
Just
Javier.
a little bit of COVID.
Just a little bit. Just enough of it, I guess, to get sick.
Yeah, and to prohibit him from entering the domiciles.
That's right.
So we don't all get infected in this COVID era that we all live in. So yeah, so everybody send your energy waves to good old TJ so he can have a speedy recovery.
Yeah. So there's a lot to talk about today.
There's always a lot to talk about, dude.
Yeah.
And it's always a struggle trying to figure out exactly what we should hone in on, because we only do one podcast a week, right?
Yeah.
So we've limited ourselves to an hour discussion.
Yeah.
Back in the old days, and we've been parsing through our old vids lately. You're about to find out why here in a second. And yeah, dude, back in the old days, we used to have 2-hour conversations, sometimes up to 3.
Yeah.
We were hardcore podcasters back in those days.
Yeah. I don't even know how we did it.
I mean, I think we could still do it now, but we would be much less cohesive.
Yeah.
Like we were back then. We were just kind of
yeah.
we were just chilling and recording,
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get into that groove for this one, because there's so much. We can't really pinpoint exactly what we should talk about, right?
Yeah. So out in the streets, people are saying that we're only talking about Bitmap these days.
Well, they would be right. I think they're pretty spot on that the analysis.
Yeah,
but yeah,
for good reason. Evidence suggests they're correct.
Correct.
Yeah,
but we weren't always just a Bitmap channel, right?
Well, no, I mean, just 6 weeks ago, Bitmap didn't exist.
Exactly. So we cover everything that just interests us. We don't have any kind of back end agenda or anything to this channel.
Yeah,
we just really like Web3 and cryptocurrency and blockchain and metaverse stuff, and whatever ends up I guess catching our gaze.
Yeah,
that becomes the focus of the present, right?
Yeah,
and right now, yeah, definitely Bitmap and Ordinals, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah, that
we were introduced to all this because we've done a little bit of peering, I guess, on the outside world.
Yeah, that's right.
What's going on back in legacy Web3?
Yeah, let me pull up a tweet here and let me just kind of read you off some of the things that have been going on. So, you're saying, we took a peek.
Yeah,
we broke through the Bitmap veil, if you will, just to see what else is going on, right?
Yeah, what's everyone else doing?
Yeah, is everyone as bullish as we are?
I know, right? If you've been watching our channel for the last 6 weeks, pretty bullish.
I would say so.
We've been having a good time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We've been fairly entertained, and every day is holy shit, this there's something cooking here.
Yeah.
We're interviewing new founders and stuff.
Yeah.
Dude, great shit's happening in our perspective, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and then we start to see what everyone else, in NFTs and DeFi and just the broader Web3 community. How are they doing, dude? It's we got fucking courtrooms. We got
yeah, we got Pauly, the guy who invented Pepe Coin.
Yes,
and apparently he's getting sued by Yuga Labs. And Pauly chimes in. He says, if you own any Yuga Labs asset, you can be 100% assured of the following: Yuga is wasting tens of millions of dollars trying to prey on me and my associates for protesting, criticizing, and satirizing their brand. This is fine with me, but understand this: they could have airdropped your community over $20 million.
Whoa.
They could have created events or built products, deliver value and joy to you. They could have hired artists, but all that money, all the resources of their company output has been directed at me for the last 2 years straight. So ultimately, Yuga Labs is suing Pepe Coin for satirizing the brand of Bored Apes.
Why? Because it's called not Yuga Labs, right? Or not Larva Labs or something like that.
Yeah.
So organization behind all of Pauly's great, Web3 feats, which
founder of Not Larva Labs.
Correct. So I guess Yuga has a real big problem with that because they did acquire Larva Labs, right? Who are the ones who built the CryptoPunks.
Yeah.
And the Meebits.
Yeah.
So they're dude, what the hell's wrong with you? You can't fuck with us like that, dude. We got lawyers.
Yeah. Shit, we got money too.
Yeah, we're gonna use that.
Yeah.
Don't you dare besmirch our good name.
Right. Right.
And this guy in particular, dude, he's pretty egregious in his behaviors online. I think he tried to build a coalition against like Brian Armstrong and Coinbase, like literally like try to like I don't know, like as aggressive as you can get in the Web3 space, like trying to create as much ruckus and havoc, right? And he built like a community of people who supported that, and all behind the name of this PayPay movement, right? And it kind of like morphed into something. It started off as like something, just funny and cool, like, how all meme coins
because there's been a bunch of Pepe coins before this Pepe coin.
Yeah, this one just kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And this happened like a few months ago, the actual explosion of Pepe.
Yeah.
And then this is like simultaneously while the Pepe mania was going on in Ethereum, Ordinals and BRC20s was happening, right?
That's right.
So on both networks, congestion started to occur.
Yeah.
Like, why is ETH gas so expensive? Well, because everyone was like freaking out over Pepe.
That's right.
And it's like, well, why is everything expensive on Bitcoin? Everyone was freaking out over these new things called Ordinals and BRC20s and stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's why I'm so grateful that we've been so deeply ingrained in Ordinals, because if we weren't, we would be like part of this fucking circus show, dude.
Yeah.
Like this would be what we're like paying attention to and like,
and talking about.
And like fixated on. It's like, oh my God, a new meme coin.
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually chose to fade Pepe. I remember.
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, you heard of this Pepe thing?
Right.
And we were like just discovering Ordinals and stuff. Like, maybe we should talk about it because everybody else seems to care.
Yeah.
But we're like, you know what, dude, this is fucking lame.
Yeah.
Right? These meme coins are fucking lame.
Right.
And look what it's turned into, dude. An absolute shit show. A horrible like PR nightmare for the whole crypto and Web3 space, right?
Yeah, so here's a tweet, and it says, so over the course of the week, we had Telegram bot Meta, which is Unibot as a trading bot token, and you use Telegram to do trades, apparently.
Okay.
And it took off. It went like a 300x or something like that.
Damn.
So we missed that one, Iron Man.
That's a shame.
Yeah. Everyone learning how to snipe and trade tokens on Maestro, Banana, and Unibot. Polly proceeds to rug all the snipers and bots degens 2 to 3 days later with 99% slippage dex pool.
Okay.
Coinbase whale pumps bald from 100K to 80 million market cap and supplies about 25 million of his own liquidity into the coin, causes a mass flow of funds from all the ETH shitters into bridging onto Base, which isn't even officially out yet and does not even have a bridge out.
Okay. That already seems like a problem.
And then next day, Curve gets exploited, and through them, Alchemix and JPEG gets hacked and millions of ETH stolen.
Jesus.
So all this stuff is what we missed out. I guess this happened last week, but in general, this is the stuff that's been happening outside of like the Bitcoin ordinal space.
Pretty much, yeah.
And yeah, so I mean,
it's basically a lot of and we want to. All this is leading up to bringing up like probably one of the more infamous like regular like cameos for our channel. It's this Wall Street cheat sheet, right? Like in times like this, part of these market cycles, we kind of like want to analyze the overall psychology, and sentiment of like some of these very influential personalities within this space. And if you start to like analyze their recent tweets and stuff, this is about as bad as I've seen it. Like the pile-on effect, even people who've like profited so immensely from like Web3 and crypto. Yeah. They've become like the most ultimate like advocates for like deeper regulation. Like, dude, fuck all this. This is like horrible.
With good reason too. I mean, there's a lot of bad stuff happening.
There is. We haven't even touched on Richard Hart yet. Right? This is all the stuff happening outside of Hex finally, like, the nuclear bomb being detonated that,
took only 4 years, dude.
Yeah. Like
one of our earliest videos was about Hex.
It was. Because, we had some experience in the space. We literally witnessed and saw BitConnect rise and fall.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And we're no stranger to like, people out there throwing out Ponzi schemes left and right. We know the red flags of such.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we analyzed Hex, and we're like, hold on a second, right? So we actually have footage of that somewhere.
Yeah, so let me go back here for a few minutes, and we can watch this play out here.
Yeah, this is like when we like the earliest days of our podcast, all the way back in 2019, dude.
Yeah.
If you notice, our setup is much shittier. Like way
Early
shittier back
in, they
then.
get like over 300% return on investment.
Oh, I have it. I have it. It's super speed.
Okay, let's slow it down a bit to normal speed.
Yeah.
And like it's so let me pull up their website.
So I think this is when we first discovered Hex and Richard Hart.
Hex.win.
Yeah,
And-
like the narrative was starting to spread.
Yeah.
Right? There's this new insane opportunity you just can't miss.
On
Yeah.
the website,
This guy named Richard Hart, bigger than life personality, right?
Yeah.
Sits on a fucking throne, literally
Yeah.
like a throne instead of a chair, and like he's telling the world like Hex is the future of crypto,
Right.
and people are buying in. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, and
And
we're wondering why.
At the time, all it was this the CD, this like instrument of finance, like old school finance, where you deposit money into the CD and it just yields you a percentage in APY, typically around 5%, like traditionally.
Yeah, basically through no like I guess no mechanism of that was like understandable or like provable. It was more like
Yeah.
just send them your money and then like we're promising you're gonna get a return.
Yeah, basically deposit the money,
Yeah.
right? Meaning deposit it to my account.
Yes, literally give it to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then I'll give you Hex tokens. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And not only that, if you lock up those Hex tokens, I'll give you even more Hex tokens.
Right.
And that's it. That's it.
Yeah, that was it. That was the scheme.
That's
right?
it. Yeah. That's it.
So I guess we're gonna watch this. So this is gonna be a pretty long clip, I guess. So we saw that, and I guess this is our initial gut reaction.
Right.
When the first high interest blockchain certificate of deposit is designed to increase in value faster than anything else in history.
Oh God!
The wallet goes live
Hold on.
in 17 hours.
Really?
Wait, 17 days.
But go back to that
58
statement.
hours.
The first Hex designed to increase in value faster than anything else in history. That should already set off like
Yeah,
red
that's
flags
like
in your head. That's like this-
flags. Like
this-
Richard should know this.
yeah, but
Yeah. So whenever you look at SEC guidelines,
Mhm.
it says anytime that you publicly state that
Yeah.
that your token is designed to go up, like
Yeah.
it's literally an investment contract. You are purchasing this token because the whole point, the whole selling point is for that token to go up in value.
Absolutely.
That is an investment contract that forces security.
Yeah, it's unbelievable that I just don't understand how it took this long for the SEC to go after Hex, because they've gone after like Polygon and Mana
Yeah.
before they hit up Hex. And just off like an obscure tweet from like Sandeep or something like that, or he like
Yeah,
he mentioned the price of
Yeah,
like that
exactly.
moment. It's like, oh, that's a security. I got you. You know? But this fucking guy has been so egregious and like open about it since
Yeah.
the beginning. Why
Yeah.
is the SEC this like, non-consistent with like their their allegations?
I don't know. There might be some threshold on like money collection. Like once you breach like $1 billion, maybe.
I feel
it's
like
like-
that was breached a long time ago for this lad.
Yeah, maybe so for sure.
Apparently he's got 700 million DAI just like sitting around
Yeah.
like he does, Richard Hart. Which is like 15% of like the DAI in circulation. Like this, that's
15% of
all DAI.
a stable coin.
Yes. The most decentralized of stablecoin products
Right.
is in the pockets of this man. And like, yeah, it took this long for the SEC to like do something about it. Even though, I don't know, even though here we are 4 years ago,
Yeah.
sounding the alarm bells. It's like, hey man, you guys probably should be careful with this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we have a video that says Hex in unregistered security. This was
Question mark?
Yeah, 3 years ago.
All we're doing is posing the question. It's like, hey, this seems like security, lads.
Yeah.
We're not, employed by the SEC. We definitely can't make that,
Yeah, official claim.
Yeah. But like we do have an understanding of how he works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And we're able to kind of like parse through these projects and
Dude, and this
quickly
was
assume.
this was in 2019, dude.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we were calling this out.
Right. So maybe the SEC should fucking employ
I don't
us
know.
or something. I don't
yeah,
know, dude.
maybe the SEC needs some sort of like a crowdsourced police force or something.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah, and at the time, like nobody knew Hex was like going to explode at this time.
that's true. This was pre like explosion.
And also keep in mind, we were talking about this just because Ayman and I just like to talk about crypto.
Yeah, and in that moment, that was like the big
yeah,
thing.
yeah. And
Right.
for some reason, like, at the time, our channel was like maybe like 200.
Oh yeah.
something like that. Nothing big, and And anyway, I guess Richard Hart saw these videos and blocked us on Twitter.
That's true. I forgot about that. Yeah, we were like a baby fucking nothing burger of a channel or influence, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And even that, like we made probably like one, like a video like this. We're like, dude, you guys probably should be a little cautious. You don't.
Yeah.
This doesn't seem. Seems a little gray. You know what I mean? So, you're about to prove that we're banned or blocked?
Yeah, I don't think I can even search it. Here it is. Oh no, that's not him. Damn it. Yeah, I mean, once I find it, I'll click it and you'll see.
Okay. Well, I believe you, dude, because I've seen it with my own eyes. It definitely said that we're blocked. But I don't know. All this is just to say, I don't know. Like, it feels like there's so much despair, and we're going to go back to this Wall Street cheat sheet in a bit, and we're going to look at a couple of, like, I don't know, people in this Twitter space and get their current day perspectives, right? And what's going on in Web3 and stuff. Oh, is that him?
Here it is. Richard Hart win.
Nice.
There it is, dude. So we've been blocked from Richard Hart for 4 years, dude. Makes me sad.
Well, I mean, we're just not hexicans, dude.
Yeah, I guess.
He blocks all non-hexicans, so literally that's what they call themselves, by the way. I'm not making that up. So, I mean, this is another thing to say, like, what is it about Richard Hart where he was able to pull this off? I mean, there's a fucking full-fledged movie about to be released about him.
Oh, yeah, dude. If you listen to Richard Hart, he's like one of the most charismatic people.
I guess.
He's very convincing.
Right.
I mean, check this out, right? So
yeah, here he is in response, right?
Yeah. SEC. Okay. Whoa. Richard Hart. Number one.
Sorry for your ears,
persona non grata. Prison. Right? I go to prison. Okay, now what happens? Let's say hex.com goes offline. Okay. Does the contract still work? Yes. Are there 5 other websites you can use? Yes. Backuphex.com, apphex.win, etherscan.io, write contract function, staker.app, hexmob.win, all kinds of front ends you can use. You build your own front end too. Okay. And now what? There's slightly less live streams. I'm the minority of live streams. I don't live stream very often, but I see tons and tons of Hex live streams. SEC.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, that wasn't really even that charismatic. He seemed kind of like actually very lackadaisical in that delivery. But that's why I'm asking the question. What is it about this guy that inspires like people?
Well, I think it's his charisma. I mean, I think he's very convincing. He's very good at what he does.
I mean, he has to be to accrue more than $1 billion in in funds from people who believe in this thing. I mean, that's no small feat.
Yeah.
So he's being accused of basically using portions of those funds to do exactly this, right? Purchase luxury goods. I think he bought like the most expensive diamond or something like that on Earth.
Yeah.
Like a black diamond. It's again, this guy was as egregious as scammers get in like the and not even just like in Web3, just in general. Like he wasn't hiding the fact that, dude, he's obviously making significant profits off of trying to convince people that what it is there's real value in that hex token, right?
Yeah. I mean, and people are convinced. They are honed in on this thing being a legitimate cryptocurrency.
And I think even now, after all this, like, aren't people like buying even now?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think there's a new narrative emerging from this. It's like, if you're against Hex and these SEC allegations, you're against crypto basically.
Yeah.
Like somehow this Hex army is that narrative is proliferating, and they're like guilt tripping the rest of people who are against this. And people are buying into that. It's like by buying Hex, you're supporting the actual ethos of Web3 and decentralization and anti-government establishment, all that shit. Right. It's weird.
It's very weird.
Yeah, Hex has become like the fucking poster child
of crypto.
Of crypto.
Yeah. This is what we want everybody to
aspire.
Yeah.
Like this is what the next monetary system looks like.
Yeah.
Right? Just keep looping this on replay, dude. I love it.
Yeah.
This is what the future of finance looks like, dude.
Everybody's going to be going to Louis Vuitton. Yeah.
It's perfect. Like the irony is magnificent, dude. It's insane.
My bad.
That was a ear buster. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, you want to turn down the Bluetooth on that? Just like
Just in
halfway.
case.
Halfway.
Yeah. Okay, we're good.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so yeah, that's Richard Hart. Here's another version of like him being charismatic. So
Any of you guys from the SEC are listening. I hope you are. I want you to know in the deepest
Dude, look at those
parts of
fat
your
rings.
heart
Maybe that's what
that
it
I've
is.
saved a lot more people from being
See those
wrecked
rings?
than you have.
yeah,
Because
Pinky rings,
I did
dude.
everything I could to prevent people
they're skulls.
from putting their money
Yeah.
into BlockFi. Did
That
you?
might be it.
I did everything I could to prevent people from putting their money into Celsius. Did you? I did everything I could to put people in charge of their own keys and get them to have self-custody. Did you do that? I called the top on the day. Did you? What have you done? So I break my balls to save people. I'm warning people about bad dApps, fake airdrops, showing people constantly every single hack that happens, right? I hand out free coins out the yin yang. I created free coins, give them to Bitcoin holders. Now I'm creating free coins, giving them to Ethereum and every single ERC20 holder. I'm the giving tree of crypto. I raised $27 million for charity.
Oh,
You know what the SEC did? The SEC
you always pull the charity card.
got paid
yeah.
$50 million by BlockFi for suing them. And guess where the $50 million came from? It came right out of the money that would have been used to pay people now that they're bankrupt. What? Hold on a second. So now the people that are hoping to get made whole in the BlockFi bankruptcy have $50 million less to get made whole because the SEC yanked it? That sounds like the opposite of helping people. That sounds like hurting people to me. And then you hear, like, I try to make the world a better place for people, and I just wish the SEC would use its power to screw up all the obviously evil, horrible things that are going on instead of attacking
Did you feel that, dude?
the good people.
Did you feel that emotional heartstring he just
You're
pulled?
just like-
Did you feel it?
Yeah.
Why?
Look at that.
Why not attack all the horror? There's more than enough horror to go around.
The horror, dude.
Any of
Yeah.
you guys from the SEC
dude,
are
so
listening.
you're right.
I hope
Like,
you are.
he's
he's
dude,
definitely an expert at like
manipulation.
Yeah, leveraging the understanding of the human psyche to kind of like mold people into like I mean basically he's a fantastic cult leader.
Yeah, 100%.
If anything, like to give him credit for anything, definitely it's not like innovations in Web3 or blockchain. That's without a doubt. He doesn't get that title.
I mean, his charisma alone, like I would drink the Kool-Aid.
Really?
Yeah, I would.
You're ready to drink?
Yeah, I'm drinking it up right now.
Damn, son.
Yeah.
That's saying something. That's pretty good.
No, I mean he's got a talent and he's very good at it, and he just happened to be able to develop smart contracts through his network that actually did function the way it's designed to function, right?
Yeah.
Deposit tokens, and you get new tokens because you deposited tokens, and that's it. Like, that's great. It worked. It worked from like a technical sense.
Yeah.
But it doesn't not make it not a security.
Correct. Especially the way it was being promoted as such.
Yeah, the promotion was like the most egregious, and that was the biggest like tell all for the SEC. Like that's all they needed. But it took the SEC 4 years for this to come about.
And that's the problem, I guess, because it's like
And then if you watch our old videos, we have another one where this guy basically extracts all the ETH from that wallet in 1,337 ETH per transaction. So
I remember that. Yeah, like it was straight up basically just
it's
like boasting.
Yeah.
Publicly, like, dude, I got you.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do a damn thing about it. So he got away with it for 4 years. I don't know what this is actually going to result in. Like, is this a fraud case? Is this a criminal case? Like, is there potential prison time here? Or is this going to be another
slap on the wrist?
$20
million fine.
Yeah, just like EOS, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get hit with the unregistered securities offering, like big deal, big whoop.
Yeah.
Nothing. That's just
it's not fraud.
Yeah, correct. So
yeah,
I don't know. Well, I guess this is a wait and see moment, but still, nonetheless, this is why I'm calling this moment in time. I'm calling it now. Here, I'm calling it here today on this podcast. We are at peak depression from a market perspective, right? So this is what this Wall Street psychology chart. It's been so fucking useful in my career in like, Web3 and crypto and stuff, it never fails.
Yeah.
As long as you just pay attention to like, the sentiment of the moment of the now, it tells you everything about where you are in these market cycles, right? So all it goes, and there's no better device to gauge that sentiment than Twitter.
Yeah.
Or I guess now X.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, freaking X. God damn it.
I know, it's so crap.
So here's one of our old friends, Anorak. He's like,
Shout out
SPF,
Anorak, dude.
SPF allegedly back. DeFi in absolute shambles. SEC says everything's a security. Richard Hart catching a case, etc. What a fucking joke of an industry. This shit is exhausting.
Yeah. I kind of I feel that angst, dude, because
I do, yeah.
Especially now, because like I said, me and you, and our channel, our community,
Yeah.
we've been smiling for the last few months, dude. Everything's been great.
Yeah.
Because we haven't been noticing all this despair.
Right.
Because we've been focusing on what?
Ordinals, Bitmap.
But what is that thing though? Like actual fundamental value.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
100%
what
developer activity.
That's what we've been preaching, right? Since the beginning.
Not token price, not floor
hype.
price, not hype, not
all the smoke and mirror marketing tactics that kind of like permeate through this whole industry, right? Like that's, yeah.
I mean, dude, crypto, it's a new technology that we can leverage for good things, good ways, good methods, and obviously can be used negatively.
Yes.
And for the most part, crypto is used negatively, right? Most of the crypto projects out there are out to scam. That's what it feels like.
Is scam the right word, or just take your money?
That's a scam.
Is that the same thing?
That's a scam.
but what if it's like take your money, but there's a legitimate belief within like this take your money organization or project, or whatever, that we're taking your money to do this thing that we actually genuinely think we could do, but 99% of the time, the money we receive from you community like is never going to be enough for us to deliver. So is that a scam in your eyes?
No, definitely not.
I feel like that's the majority of crypto.
I don't think that's the majority of crypto.
You think the majority of founders in Web3 are like actually scammers?
No, but I think the majority of projects are. But that's not like founders. This is just like projects. Well, founders are like us, like out there talking about like the positive side of crypto and like trying to do something.
But I feel like each project, I mean, it has a founder, right? It has somebody who comes up with the idea.
Technically, yes.
Right.
But they don't call themselves founders of a scam project.
Correct.
Right. It's just a project. And then, send me tokens and I send you, this thing. And
okay, let's change the word from founders to participants. Like, you know, Web3 crypto participants.
I mean, man, it's hard to really to determine like how much of crypto is like.
I mean, it's a significant percentage without a doubt.
You think so? Like, why without a doubt? Like, what gives you that indication?
Just because we've seen it a couple times happen. Like, the exploitation of in these like existing market stages where people are actually trying to build something of true value. Like in this whole ordinal space or Bitmap or whatever. Yeah. People actually care. We're seeing that with Bitmap. There's a ton of developers just coming out of the woodworks. They're not getting paid a single dime. There's no DAO giving them grants to build stuff.
Right.
They're just developers. They have real jobs.
Yeah.
They're doing this like on their side time because they believe in something.
Yeah.
And they want to contribute to this greater idea, this greater mission that they feel tied, some kind of, personal tie within.
Yeah.
And that's how all great, technologies, I think, begin. But like you're saying, once they kind of grow in adoption and they mature, and then these devs do too good of a job of contributing and supporting a network, then there's a foundation for these exploiters, these money-hungry capitalists to come in and kind of like the Richard Harts of the world basically come in and just take everyone's money.
Right.
Through these like technical achievements.
Yeah.
Now, is that
we have an anecdote, right? Our personal anecdote. We do research on a ton of projects, and a lot of times, a lot of the stuff that we find is just like scams.
Yeah.
Like obviously that's anecdotal.
Yeah.
Right. We're not like peering through every single, thousands of crypto projects.
Definitely not, no.
But anecdotally, we do find most of the time projects like essentially not worth a website.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So having said all that, I mean, like, what does that mean for the whole space? I mean, I don't know. everybody's so disenchanted, you know.
Well, I think the perception of crypto from like the wider perspective, like SEC and like the general population, is that crypto is a scam.
Mm.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, technically, is it? No, it's not. But
The technology
it's being
yeah.
used
Yeah, it's
to scam.
exactly. So it's never like a technology issue.
Correct.
You know, it's just
Like a car is used
Yeah.
to run over people or to get from A to B, right?
Yeah.
You pick your option.
And this is what's so terrifying about, I guess, like things like AI. It's like kind of like using crypto as like a gauge as
Dude,
far as
that's
like
so true.
when you have like a technology like roll out and then you could kind of like wait around and see what the human operators do with such technology. And then in crypto's case, it's been like, man, such a bad.
Yeah,
It's
bad use of tech.
Right. So like in AI, it becomes like this open source technology for anybody can kind of like take hold of. And let's assume like these same kind of bad actors get a hold of this type of technology. Like what kind of damage will they do on society?
I feel like this is like the virtual nuke of technologies.
I think it's just one of those things where we just can't trust people to manage it like ethically or
No, definitely
Yeah.
not.
people are just going to use it to fuck over other human beings for their own personal gain.
Yeah.
Because why? Because there's historical evidence to suggest that's just what we do as like a species, right?
Yeah, as a collective society. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So yeah, I'm scared too. God damn it! How did we just morph into like a Doomcast
But-
all of a sudden?
Well, this is why we keep talking about Bitmap, because we don't have to deal with this
I know.
BS, dude.
That's what I was saying before we found Ordinals and Bitmap. If some of you guys were around watching us during, dude, it was depressing. This channel,
Yeah.
we ourselves were getting like depressed in our day-to-day lives
Yeah.
because all we were talking about was like what's actually happening, you know, and it was very depressing. Like the whole Sam Bankman-Fried and the contagion effect of that.
Yeah. Banks failing,
Yeah, the banking
apocalypse coming,
Yes.
kicking the can down the road, making it a bigger apocalypse in the future.
Yeah, fucking the biggest, all the macro factors basically that were pointing to max despair on the way, right?
Yeah, we got so deep. We got a whiteboard and we listed the things not to talk about on the channel.
It's true.
And it was all like the despair,
Yeah.
shit that we've been seeing.
Yeah, or TJ circled one thing is like no more doom.
Yeah.
He circled it. He's like, please, because he could see like the psychological effect, like actually just focusing on the negatives of the market.
Yeah.
What does to your psyche, right? And so like, dude, we got to find something hopeful,
Yeah.
right? And then we found Ordinals, and it was like, dude, this is it. This is that beacon of light. Something
Interesting, at least, happening.
There's some new innovations happening here, right? There's a new unlocking for our eyes.
Yeah.
And yeah, thank God for that, because dude, I don't know, we might have like thrown in the towel at this point or something, dude.
Yeah. Did you know that we're more than just a YouTube channel? We also built Mscribe, the first inscription platform built from the ground up for the metaverse on Bitcoin. Connect your Bitmap ordinals and use our tools to bring your community into the virtual realm. Support us by joining the movement at mscribe.io. Like, comment, and subscribe for the latest alpha. Back to the video.
But that's why I refer to this Wall Street cheat sheet. Like that's basically the definition of depression, right?
Yeah. So you're saying we're at the bottom then, right?
That's my call. I don't know about you. What do you
Well,
think?
definitely we've been at the bottom for like a year now.
I know, but there's points to these bottoms.
Maybe
you know
what
I mean?
you're referring to is the emotional ride.
The
Yes.
emotional bottom. I feel
Yes,
like.
the emotional bottom. Okay.
Yeah, we've been at bottom since
Yeah.
since FTX collapsed, right?
Yeah.
That was actually like the lowest the price went to like 16K.
16. Yeah.
That might have been like the technical bottom
Yes.
to this cycle. But like the feeling of depression
Sure.
is like here, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at Bob Bodley. So he came out with this fire tweet, this image of Bitcoin
Yeah.
and in
Exactly.
the ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
It was very positive.
It was
and
beautiful, right?
Yeah, it was great. We
It was
did a
like-
video on it. You should
Yeah.
watch it.
Yeah.
And then he says in this tweet, wait, how many hours was this ago?
It was like yesterday or 2 days ago or something.
July 31st. So 2 days ago. It says crypto right now, wars between blockchains, never ending bickering online, which we're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Rug pulls on mutable protocols,
True.
meaningless speculative meme coins,
Facepalm.
new chain means new speculation,
Yeah.
fake product market fit via incentives,
Okay.
users just want to make money. And then finally he says we have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, so he's piling onto this sentiment, right? It's like, holy fuck, dude, what are we doing, lads? It's like And then here we got NFT God. Like this is the most ironic thing. His name is NFT God.
Yeah.
That you could assume he's done well in this space.
Yeah.
If that's his name, right? I'm pretty sure that online identity formed during like the bullish phases of this market, right? Like, dude, I'm the NFT God. I've collected some of the most valuable Web3 assets that exist.
Yeah.
Embrace me. I am him.
Yeah.
But now let's see what he's saying today, like in a bear market.
He says the crypto space is absolutely toxic. Another crypto influencer busted for fraud. Richard Hart, founder of Hex Coin, used at least $12 million in investor funds to purchase cars and watches. No other space has more liars and cheats. Raises over $1 billion and steals the money to buy bullshit. When are we going to learn? When are we going to stop giving money to scammers because we think we'll make an extra buck? The last thing this space deserves is mass adoption. I couldn't think of any more dangerous than onboarding more people into this scam casino. What crypto to go mainstream, first thing you need to do is stop giving money to coin artists.
Con artists.
Con artists.
No. Coin artists are okay.
Yeah.
Con artists, no.
Maturity needs to come before we go even a step further. And
a nice picture of Richard himself, just to really like drive it in, dude.
Yeah.
Like, this is the fucking guy that we should all be despising.
Yeah. And, people, they want to make money. And so Hex provided a very easy way to do that.
Yeah.
And so it made sense why Hex got, I guess, popular.
Yeah. So, what's the move here, dude? Maybe not so much for us.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just like in general for like, I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, what do you mean? What is like the move? Like in what sense? Like a retail move, a founder move?
I don't know. Maybe like an ethos thing. Because I'm seeing these discussions. Like, yeah, I'm seeing now people are like, yeah, let's not do this anymore. Let's mature.
So what is the move? You're right.
Yeah.
Like what do you do?
What does that
here?
even mean? Yeah. What is mature? Because if we do nothing, it's guaranteed that this will happen again.
Yes.
Guaranteed.
Yes.
Somebody's going to find some new vehicle or some new vertical to exploit like a mass population of people to generate billions of dollars. Because it's based off of the the charisma or whatever it is that makes him like such a notable persuader.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. Yeah. That's what happens. There's a massive array of like speculative vehicles to leverage to do exactly that in this space.
Yeah.
Right.
Correct.
So what do we do?
Well, I don't know. I think part of it is like maturity. Like we were able to pick up how Hex was, suspicious.
Correct.
Right? At day one. It didn't take like not more than a few seconds looking at the website.
See, but this is the problem, dude. So, okay, we were able to do that.
Yeah.
But so the SEC comes in with like, this is what they say, right? We're here to protect like the average investor.
Yes.
Like, the non-sophisticated investors. That's why we have accreditation and stuff like that for people who are able to spot these types of like obviously egregious or,
So we should get an honorary accreditation.
Basically what I'm asking though is like, this I don't know, I might get canceled for this. Just something. It's like, it almost seems like what Gary's saying is it's true.
Well,
like, or the SEC in general, like, it does need to exist. It does need to have like a much more firm like presence.
Well, I think regulation can be good. Not over regulation is what we're trying to prevent, right? Because from the SEC's perspective, everything is a security, which is not true. And they've already lost a case against XRP.
And they have said that actually, like everything except for Bitcoin.
Yeah, they've said that after saying that there's a lot of things that aren't securities, like Ethereum.
But what if they're right? What if they get to declare, because they are the governing body, right? It's
Well, they're overstepping their bounds because not everything is a security.
But what if they just have to say that so they can actually impose the necessary regulations over the whole market, so that just to kind of like,
See, but if they're going to set regulations, they don't need to impose anything. They just have to set the regulations. They don't have to claim anything as a security. It's like, here are the rules. Follow these rules. If you don't follow them, we're going to come after you. There are no rules, right? Crypto is a new technology, newer than 1934, and not everything that is a cryptocurrency is a security. And so what are the rules that people should be following, for the founders?
So in other words, like, they just need to do a little bit more like due diligence and
because they're saying we have the rules. They were set
They
in
exist.
1934,
Correct.
right? But those aren't good enough, right? And so that's because, like, for example, in the XRP Ripple's case, the token itself is not a security, but the way that they sold tokens to institutions, it was a security, right? But the way that XRP is traded on exchanges is not a security.
Well, that was like a that wasn't the SEC, right? That was like some other judge or something.
No, it was a
declared
judge.
that?
I mean, but they went to court for that, and that's what the judge
Right.
determined.
Yeah,
and therefore is true, right? That's how it works.
correct. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, so I don't know the answer to this question either. I'm just simply, I don't know, like just trying to figure out, what is the next step? How
do we avoid this? Like, how do we make crypto not generally a scam in the eyes of like the public?
Right, because I guess traditional equities markets are heavily regulated, I guess, for this exact reason.
Yeah.
Every now and then, like something like a Theranos will slip through the cracks, right?
Yeah.
Every now and then, another good cult leader, right?
Yeah.
What was her name? Fucking
Elizabeth Holmes.
Yeah, dude. She fucking persuaded like some of the most intelligent, some of the most,
she did,
the biggest investors on the planet. Like, and I don't know how. It's amazing, actually.
Yeah, it's like the weird effect. Like, if you're weird, it's like the people give you $1 billion.
Yes, same thing with Sam, right?
Yeah.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah.
It happens. So I guess the question is, should we just like allow people, like, let's just like, create like a Darwinism in these free markets.
Yeah.
It's like the people who are going to get fucked over, like they're just, I guess the weak links or something like that.
Yeah. You mentioned that a couple of days ago. I was thinking about it. I was like, I like that approach because it's the fittest survive. However, if you apply that to like everything in society, you don't have a society. You have anarchy, and you can't even feel safe to go to the store because you could get robbed or shanked or whatever.
Correct.
And so we have raw laws and rules and stuff like that.
Basically, like structure and organization and order is very important.
Yeah.
And all other facets of like our societal, system.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't just have like Darwinism apply to everything, right?
Yeah.
Only the strong survive. Well, then you have absolute chaos in all sense.
That's right.
Every sense. It's just the Wild West. You've got to create these frameworks and these structures within a society.
So I think we're honing down to what the real question is like, what are the structures and frameworks to make crypto not be a scam in general?
Yeah, but I guess like step one though is like everyone kind of has to acknowledge at least that these structures and frameworks and laws and regulation stuff, like
it's missing.
It's a need.
Yeah.
Because without it, then you have like just too many exploiters, too many bad actors just take over the space, and then the progression is perpetually halted in every sense.
Yeah.
Right.
But here's the thing: what we're dealing with is Munib. He's one of the founders for Stacks. He followed all the regulatory like paperwork to make sure Stacks
he did
is not a security, right?
He did, yeah.
Or even if it is a security, it's like regulated up the ass, right?
Yeah.
But that what he did was too expensive for every startup to do, and so you until it's commoditized, we can't really build crypto projects if everything is security, right?
I mean, you can, because like in the traditional equity space, all those big publicly traded companies, they all started out like bootstrapping founders, like you and I.
Yeah.
Some company in a garage. Apple started out with a few lads with a dream and a mission with no money.
Right.
And through their like hard work and their genuine interest, they're not scammers, right? They were genuinely trying to build real product, real value for humanity.
Yeah.
They built a company that at some point could do a registered public offering.
Yes.
Right. And now it's the biggest company in the world because it's, it's operating under the confines of these,
Yeah, but if you're building a crypto project and you need a token, and that token is considered a security in the grand scheme of things, you have to register and you have to do all this paperwork, which is a lot of time, a lot of money. And if you're a startup, how do you do that?
See, that is a good point. Yeah, the whole token injection into a lot of these different ecosystems. It's a big.
Steve Jobs wasn't dealing with tokens, right, in the 70s when he was inventing Apple.
That's a great point. Yeah,
so
the token itself. So that's like the main counter argument to the SEC, right? Like the token actually holds utility.
Yeah.
For a lot of these like projects.
Yeah, and maybe they need to define what utility means.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe that needs to be like super clear.
Yeah.
And that's probably good enough. If your token does any, and lies within the spectrum of utility, then it's not a security, and therefore, free reign.
Or even if it is, like we have this like simplified process for like, I don't know, like maybe like a grace period for shit. I don't know. Even that sounds risky.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a tough one, dude.
Yeah, it's tough.
This is very hard.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you? Yeah, either you just pick and choose who you're gonna go after as the SEC. Like these are the most egregious offenders. Let's go after them, and then just let the space evolve. However, it ends up manifesting.
Yeah, maybe that's like the only way to do it.
That seems to be like the current existing route, right?
Yeah.
Or you just like put the ban hammer on the whole thing,
Hmm.
which obviously not a good thing. That's stifling innovation for an entire.
Yeah, and I guess somewhere in China they figure it
Oh,
out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's like all of a sudden this valuable technology is just being grown elsewhere, and the United States gets left behind. So yeah, dude. I mean, this is the tough part. Like this is why we stick with bitmaps, dude.
I agree. Yeah, every time, but it's important too, like to I guess like analyze where we are overall as a space, and because we're as deep as it gets into this Web3 ecosystem, right? So,
Yeah.
And yeah, we have a lot of I guess a lot at stake personally, but man, we're banking like our whole futures on this.
Yeah.
Like not just the technology and like the mission at hand of like all of Web3.
Oh yeah, man. We're all in. I mean,
Yeah.
I have like fucking barely pennies I can like rub together
Like
in
real
fiat money.
Fiat?
Yeah.
we've abandoned all like legacy models at this point, right?
Yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
like we're really hoping like the rest of the world agrees with us. Because if they don't, it's like, fuck. It's like, God damn it. We
Yeah.
made the wrong bet, right? But
Yeah.
there's a lot of signs to show,
Yeah,
that legacy- that le-
MicroStrategy just bought another $14 million worth of Bitcoin.
How much?
14 million.
That seems low.
It is kind of low.
Yeah,
it was
they-
like it's like 400 Bitcoin or something like that.
Okay. Well, didn't they do something else? Or it's like 700? They're selling their own like company
Yeah.
shares.
Well,
or-
they're thinking about selling their own company shares for Bitcoin, allegedly.
fucking A, dude. That's just wild. I mean, okay, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
just one whale becoming bigger, I guess. I don't know what to think about that.
The point is, he's betting on this too, just like we are.
Yeah, but that's just one guy. Or
I know
one
it is,
entity.
but he's betting. He's
Everything.
got billions, like $5 billion worth of Bitcoin.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of money for
It is a lot
anyone
of
to
money.
bet, their company on.
Yeah. So, man, this is interesting. Yeah, this part of the market is like the most fascinating, I think.
Yeah,
This is where we started the podcast like 4 years ago, around this time.
yeah,
And we were starting to we were like in the same accumulation phase. And people are saying like Bitcoin has become like the most stable asset like on earth in comparison to gold, to stocks,
Yeah.
bonds, everything. Bitcoin is the most stable now.
right.
And that implies, at some point soon, this thing is going to either rocket up or rocket down, right?
Yeah.
'Cause-
I mean, it feels like this is the accumulation zone, right?
is.
This is like the famous accumulation zone for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
It happens every 4 years, like exact same time.
Yeah. So let's you just recall, like, what were we talking about 4 years ago? It's like, yeah, what is going to be that next driver?
Yeah. Yeah. We were speculating. I guess we found elements of DeFi.
DeFi.
Uh,
That was pretty much it.
yeah. We thought that the whole ICO thing wasn't going to happen again. And therefore we had IDOs,
It's true. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then NFTs happened. So I don't know. I guess we're speculating that Bitcoin ecosystem is going to like explode.
I think so. I think we
I mean,
have a
it's
good.
Bitcoin.
I feel like we have a pretty decent track record of like because we were able to predict pretty accurately, like at this stage 4 years ago, like what is it going to be that thing that drives innovation and new participation
Yeah.
and like eventually some retail involvement in this whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we were at the forefront of every single one of those sectors, like
yeah.
DeFi, NFTs, and metaverse.
That's right.
So right now it's like Ordinals, Bitmap, and I guess to be determined. I mean, there is like an AI vector here with Potensor, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. That feels like still up in the air, just because.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
that's
tough.
hard to say. That's hard to say.
Yeah, but you know what? 4 years ago, we didn't know exactly what it was going to be. It's not like we said DeFi, metaverse, and
Not like 4 years ago. That's what I'm saying. But like
as we were doing videos, we
Exactly.
basically found what was going to take off.
correct. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean.
You're
by,
right.
Like I have confidence in our track record, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the thing that's going to reinvigorate interest in Web3 is going to be like JPEG projects all over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I guess it could on Bitcoin because the narrative is like just different.
Well, the only potential narrative like variance is like, yeah, these aren't NFTs; these are artifacts.
Yeah, and remember, right? ICO mania happened in 2017. We said there's no way it was going to happen again. Then we
That's
had
true.
Then
Dude,
we
that's
had IDOs.
Such a good point.
Right, we had IDOs.
Yeah.
So maybe the analogy here is ICO to IDO. We have NFTs to like artifacts.
Yeah, on-chain artifacts. Yeah,
Yeah.
I could see like the what do you call that? The invisible hand.
The invisible hand.
The invisible hand, like putting out that narrative is like, dude, all that shit you guys got rugged on, like 3 or 4 years ago, those NFT things.
That off-chain picture.
Yeah,
thing.
those are all off-chain. Those are just smart contracts that are now exploited because they're all like written on
Viper.
The whole EVM thing is like flawed.
Yeah.
Well, here's this new BVM on Bitcoin.
Or forget the BVM. Here's that same picture on Bitcoin.
Right.
Forever on Bitcoin.
Correct. Yeah. So
And
you don't have
there's
to,
no rug pulling. There's no nothing. It's there forever.
and it's on the most secure chain of all time. And we got governments scooping up Bitcoin.
We got MicroStrategy.
Elon, and
Elon,
we
yeah.
got apparently like PayPal is going to be integrating into Lightning Network. Who else? I mean, there's a lot. Like Bitcoin
Yeah, dude.
definitely seems like
I feel like the fuel is being like collected here.
gathered, right?
Yeah.
For this Bitcoin like rocketing of all time.
Dude,
But then,
it seems like it. I mean,
God damn it, dude! What's the probability we're like just totally off? Like 100, like we're just so off target. Like we're so wrong.
I don't know, dude. I don't think the probability is low we're off, dude.
God damn it! See, we're back in that. This is how I know we're like in that stage of the market where we're questioning our sanity again.
Yeah.
At least I am. That's how you know. But every time we've done that, we've ended up being right.
Yeah.
That sounds very like egotistical or whatever.
I mean, we're just trying to see like I guess if we're gonna be right or not. I mean,
I don't know.
is it egotistical? What if we are right?
Well, then fuck, we get to be right. Hell yeah.
Yeah, right.
It's like it feels good to be right. But as of right now, we're not right or wrong. We're stuck in this limbo stage of like, we feel like, this thing that we're focused on is like the right thing to be focused on.
Yeah.
And there's like untapped value potential there. And like for whatever reason, we're one of the first and earliest to like see it and identify it.
Right.
And we're expecting down the line, again, a large segment of people, humans on Earth, will like discover what we've already discovered and come to the same conclusions.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah. I mean, dude, I feel like we do pretty good just looking at as much as we can. I mean, we're not going to catch everything.
No, definitely not.
But we see a lot of things, and there's not a whole lot to be like bullish about besides Bitcoin.
So I guess, man, now would be like the perfect segue to get into like what it is we wanted to talk about next. But how much time do we have? Like,
Yeah, we got
not much.
9 minutes,
That's 8.
8 minutes.
That is a signal for the number 8. But there you go.
6 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I misinterpreted. So
Yeah.
we wanted to talk about a little bit more in relation to things that we identify as value. So yeah, we're all in, not all in, but we see a tremendous value opportunity in Ordinals and Bitcoin and Bitmap and this thing that we like to, want to introduce to the world
Yeah.
called digital matter theory.
Right.
So,
DMT.
DMT.
Right?
Yeah, and I think we've been kind of like leaking these ideas like a little bit here and there in our 20-minute recordings on our YouTube channel.
Yes.
But it's I don't know, me and you, as we keep developing and building new things, we always have like these weird radical, I don't know, like revelations or
Realizations.
yeah. And I guess like the most recent one is like, what is it that makes ordinals so interesting? What is it that made bitmap so interesting?
What's the non-arbitrary factors that made bitmap what it is?
Yeah, I think so. That's what we identify as like, this is the first time where I think in the Web3 space, we've sourced on-chain data and information to create new value mechanisms. That's how I like to look at it, right?
Yeah.
You know, like Casey Rodimer, he's like, yeah, let's leverage the chronology of SAT minting,
Yes.
and let's use that to create embeddable like vehicles that we can now store new information onto the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yes.
And call them ordinals or whatever.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Batoshi, he comes out with the concept of bitmap, where blocks are districts and transactions are parcels. Another pattern recognition, right?
Pattern recognition. That's the big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's like, you know, now that we've recognized a pattern of patterns, right? We got Casey, we got Batoshi. You know, what other patterns can we recognize? And so we came up with this digital matter theory that allowed us to see the blockchain data like from a different angle. And that angle is basically is like, if you recognize a pattern within the data of Bitcoin's blocks, it could be some like a digital element that represents that data pattern.
Yeah.
And so a data pattern could be like basically, you know, how many outputs does this block have, right? And it could be like, let's say 1,000 outputs or 10,000, depending on, you know, what's happening on a given block.
Yeah.
And so that output, how many, you know, this block has 10,000 outputs, you know, how many outputs do the other blocks have? And all of a sudden that becomes like a token that can be traded, right? Based on attributes from the data of the blocks.
Yeah.
And so now what we're looking at is we have roughly almost 22,000 people holding bitmaps. Eventually, those parcels are going to be inscribed and distributed amongst a population, a community. Could be millions of holders, and all those millions of holders are sitting on top of these digital assets that can be used and traded, right?
Yeah.
And everyone is owners of these elements, these patterns, and then who knows what people could do with it.
Yeah, we're seeing like a little bit of that. I guess like this. We've already seen rare sats and like, you know, the ordinals community identify value with that.
Yeah.
And then basically that's another example of bringing on-chain information or in some sort of source of on-chain good, and then bring up using that as like a value mechanism to append it to something new, right? So like if you inscribe anything new with these rare sats, there's a value perception to that, right? So these bitmaps, people are identifying something similar to that. They're called block attributes, not stat attributes, block attributes. Like, you know, which of these bitmaps and the information, the data within them, like how is that going to affect, I guess, like its value overall?
Right.
And then even within that, can I extract even more new like identified block attributes that just for whatever reason, as long as it's sourced within the Bitcoin block information, I can leverage that and generate something new, some new substance, digital substance, right?
Yes.
And launch again a whole token ecosystem on top of that.
Yes.
It's and the reason why that's valuable because it's completely new, like non-arbitrary process to, I guess, like token generation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, imagine, so right now we have BRC20s and every single BRC20 is completely arbitrary. They just set parameters from a human brain. They typed it into a computer.
And the majority of them are 21 million just because.
Yeah, just because.
It fits within the Bitcoin lore, I guess.
And so now we have non-arbitrary tokens, NATs, right? With digital matter theory.
Yeah. Where
these tokens are now like discovered from the data from Bitcoin's blockchain.
Yeah.
And this discovery is like, it could be anything. So right now we're looking at bitmap.community. So this is really cool data chain information from a couple of guys who built this like relatively quickly, data engineers.
Yeah.
And they were able to parse Bitcoin's data and put it together in like a human readable format, right? And so I randomly clicked on a block 747936. The rarity rank is number 1, dude.
Hold on.
So whoever owns this one, for some reason, it's ranked number 1.
Is that good or bad? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's the most rare or what?
According to the metrics here.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, it's a billionaire, total output. So I still don't know exactly what a lot of this stuff means, but apparently it's in the top 1%. But this is what I mean. This is pattern recognition already happening.
Correct.
Right? And so we got block height, the hash, the bits, difficulty. So there's a bunch of data here. So how much more data? So this is just at the block layer.
Yeah.
You know, how much more data? This has, how many transactions does this have?
3,728.
There it is. Yeah, 3,700. So of the 3,728 transactions, how much more data can be extracted and then potentially
You mean like the individual transactions itself?
Yeah.
The data within that.
That's right.
Yeah. Like, can you create like this whole rarity mechanism, I guess, or ecosystem from
at the parcel level?
At the parcel transaction level. You
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
But the amount of data that to process all that is tremendous.
Yeah, we're looking at potentially roughly 850 million parcels or 850 million transactions.
Yeah.
So it's significant amount, but you know, Google has a lot of data too, right?
True.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not like we're talking about an insurmountable amount of data.
Yeah.
And remember, there's only 144 blocks added every single day. So the inflation rate of data is not that much either.
Yeah.
So it can be indexed, right? And so, yeah, now we have to talk about frameworks on getting people to discover patterns, submit the patterns, actually recognize the pattern. Like if you discover a pattern, it's going to be a new line item here. It's going to tell you the supply of how much that pattern
so there's got to be
repeats.
some sort of process. Like say I don't know, I like 420.
Yeah.
I want to spin up a 420 non-arbitrary token project.
Right.
Just because, I don't know, maybe that's going to be like the governance token to my 420 bitmap land.
Yeah, but let's constrain this. It's 420, but where is it? Is it how many 420 Bitcoin transactions exist on Bitcoin's blockchain? Is it on the block hash?
Yeah.
How often do I see 420 in sequence with each other?
Correct.
Right. That's a different.
Yeah.
You know, that's a different element.
Yeah, so
right?
it's up to the individual element proposer, basically,
Yes.
or registrar. Yeah, it doesn't matter. It could be anything. It's an infinite scope.
It could be
just
anything.
like it's an infinite scope of anybody who could spin up a BRC20 or an ERC20. There's
Yeah.
no rules. You know, that's why there's hundreds of thousands of ERC20 tokens. There's already over like 40,000 BRC20 tokens.
And that's what I like about this is that the only rule is it has to be data.
Yeah, it has to exist.
It has to exist. Yes.
If you put in some like string of a sequence of like 179,625JX something,
Yeah.
and that's never ever occurred on Bitcoin's block history,
Or better yet, maybe it only occurs one time in Bitcoin's block history.
well then
I mean, that could be valuable, right? It could be.
right. But that's the cool factor of all this though. Like you could spin up that NFT or any of that stuff in today's traditional mechanisms, which are totally arbitrary.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no root source of anything to that. To that kind of like digital value creation, right?
Yeah.
It's just spun out of thin air.
Yeah.
What happened with Ordinal, what happened with Bitmap, these are the first examples of like, human beings leveraging on-chain information and data,
Yes.
again, create new value.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
In Ordinal's case, now we have like a framework to, again, create new digital assets. Bitmap, it literally is the groundwork protocol for, a digital architecture for a metaverse.
Yes. Yeah.
According to the standards, right? That are, again, rooted to this on-chain information that exists in the blocks.
Yeah. And so what could come from this? I mean, it's hard to say.
It is hard to say. It's more like we just want people to kind of understand. Like that.
Yeah. The patterns that have led up to this point that
Yeah.
Bitmap exists. We have Ordinals, Casey Rodimer. We have Bitoshi with Bitmap.
Mhm.
The next evolution is just more pattern recognition. That's all we're talking about.
Yeah, and what value do you create from that,
Yeah.
basically? And that's completely unpredictable.
It is, which is cool.
As unpredictable as, okay, yeah, we've created this token standard called ERC20s. Now we have this new mechanism.
Mhm.
It's a standard. Anybody
right.
can kind of, spin up their own
Yes.
tokens
Yes.
using this like very, well understood format. Who knew DeFi was going to come from that?
Yeah. 100%.
Who knew like any of these like these DAOs would form around these
Yeah.
tokens and they'd be used as governance tools and stuff like that. You can't predict that,
Right.
right? So who knows what people are going to do with this? You know, whether it's supply some sort of game with like in-game resources that are
Or-
non-arbitrary.
Or a natural token to represent the economy. It's like, I'll take, this pattern for access to my game, or, I'll take this element for purchasing digital wearables.
Yeah, correct. And then what does that do to the value of the actual, the digital products that are crafted
Yeah.
from these non-arbitrary tokens, which have like actual like scarce supplies based on, on-chain information.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
Yeah, that's awesome.
and it's immutable, right? You can't change it because you can't change the record of Bitcoin.
Yeah, and the best part is that 144 blocks are added. That means 144 chances for new, like this rate of inflation is still there.
It is still there, but it's going to be very like, depending, I guess, on the...
Yeah, depending on how rare the pattern is.
Correct. Yeah, you could literally just do patterns like, I want to just A.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
I wanna find how many A's. It's like every single transaction ID has an A in it.
Exactly. So
right?
every new block is going to be
a brand new element.
a huge new supply injection.
Yeah, that's right.
So who knows? If someone could do that, probably somebody will. So the point is, like,
and maybe we need a penny version for the metaverse, right? Maybe this is a good
penny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Just
a good
dust?
penny. Yeah, it's just dust.
Yeah, it's just we need dust in the metaverse just so we can
Yeah, just for any reason.
I don't know. It's hard to think of that, but that's the point, and that's the fun of all this, right? Is like, let's have fun with the Bitcoin block data.
Yeah.
Right? We've already done that with Bitmap.
Yeah.
We want to encourage people like these guys, Bitmap.community, any data engineers out there,
Yes.
or anybody who can provide this
is
type
like
of indexing servicing.
A data engineer's
Wet dream.
I was trying to think of a different word, but I'll
Sorry,
take it. I'll take it.
go straight to it, dude. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
If I'm a data engineer, I have a new canvas to
Yes.
create from.
Dude.
Right? It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
Yeah, the metaverse canvas is like, obviously the topography of the digital layer and artists, they're JPEG artists, they have their 2D,
Yeah.
yeah, data engineers now can create
Yeah.
they can create just based off of bits of info. Like, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and dude, it's the best part is that these are non-arbitrary tokens.
Yeah, we might sound like crazy people. Let us know in the comments, I guess, if we sound absolutely like we've completely lost it.
Here's to the crazy ones, man.
Thanks, dude. Thanks for continually bringing that one up.
It's like,
just like,
thanks, Steve.
yeah, just so I don't feel like, like I'm actually losing it. You know what I mean?
Well, at least we're not looking around on Ethereum and all the scams that are going on.
Yeah. Well, we did that once. We're not going to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Back to stuff like this. This is what's interesting, man. And we're trying to plant seeds out there so anybody can kind of run with this concept and let's deliver some value of it. You know? And that's what's so cool. Bitmap enables this, Ordinals enables this, and I think all we're saying, there's an underlying bigger picture.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess we slapped a name to it. We called it digital matter theory.
Yeah, DMT. Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily have to be called that, but that's what we feel like is actually happening here.
Yeah, I think the name's pretty cool.
I think so too. So if you guys want
Isn't DMT a drug? What is it?
Yeah, dude, it's a psychedelic.
There you go.
I think it's dimethyltryptamine or something like that. DMT.
Let's stick with that because it sounds cool.
Okay, so DMT. I mean, we got LSD-Fi going on
LSD-Fi, yeah, that's
perfect. We got LSD-Fi and we got DMT on Bitcoin.
Dude,
we're all tripping balls together, dude. That's what Web3 is really about.
All right, we'll end it on that note then. I appreciate you guys watching. Hopefully, the despair hasn't gotten to everybody.
Yeah,
and hopefully Bitmap has provided some element of entertainment.
Yeah, if you're following us, you're on our channel, part of our community. Dude, yeah, it's been happy days.
Yeah,
and I predict we'll have more happy days in the future because, I think we're right, dude.
I think so too.
Let us know in the comments. Are we right? Are we wrong?
Are we crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah, let us know. Yeah. Make sure you follow us on all our Twitter channels. There's a lot of them. There's the Block Runner, at the Block Runner. There's at MetaZone.io. There's Rovi AI. And now there's at MScribe.io.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to be interviewing one of the community members from Boss on Tuesday.
Which is a we were talking about EVM and BVM. Like literally, they're trying to construct the Bitcoin virtual machine, like a whole process to bring more functionality and usability to the BRC20 and Ordinal ecosystem at large. So that's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
you know.
So we're gonna get more details on that on Tuesday, and it will be released same time on Saturday. So
yeah, looking forward to that.
All right, guys, appreciate it, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.